It's a little harder.
Glasses for you. Okay. I thought maybe that's where you got it. Yeah. See?
Serious? Oh, no. What's
See.
yeah. I look fresh. Like I just we're already. There's another beautiful shirt. Yeah, we go crash it. Is that his? That's what it is. Yes. And daughter last year. Ever something. My parents love you. Yeah. Yeah. And Dad. This is Emma, granddaughter. Yeah. You know, it's sad. Yeah. Was the best. That I did all. Yeah, that's another. I got. Yeah, the juice. Yeah. How's your face? Let's pick with you. No, but it wasn't it 41. Just like that. Oh, I don't know. Oh, it's all right.
hoping this is a prep work.
Did you tell your mom about Mahjong? Joni, Sharon, we talked about Mahjong last time. I'm sure. That's Joni, my good friend. This is Karen. Sorry, I didn't say hi. Yeah. Just it's yeah. I know. I'm like, yeah. What is it? Oh, you are okay. Not yet.
Costco. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, great.
Guessing down there? Maybe that's, they just have the base there, so.
Overseeing Yep.
Yeah.
We're just, we moved Melvin and I were, so not far. Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, you guys just yeah, the Belfort. Yeah, your place like sure. It's a new chapter. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Very. Your name came up on Wednesday. Yeah. Forever.
You set a timer, they eat a breakfast cereal.
She'll wear the dress.
Should have worn a suit.
I knew how to come in that. Yeah.
Walk around it.
Yeah.
Let me walk around there.
Props.
I just want to. Come on, if you want to sit right here on the edge, then I'm going to just I'll sit here to make sure that we have people that need to sit in the chair. Would you be the anchor? Ooh, look at you. Perfect. So, you see. You know, no royalties. I don't have a good comeback, but that's lovely. I love to be loved.
Hey. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a perfect time to make sure all cell phones are turned off for the service.
Nesoinai el Heharim. Me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shemayim va'aretz. Al yatein lamot raglecha. Al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha. Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka. Yareach b'layla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra. Yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeitcha boecha me'ata v'yadonai. From the 121st Psalm. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your soul. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in, from this time forth and forevermore. Eloheinu v'Elohei our God and God of all generations. Thou governest all things with infinite wisdom and mercy, and who guidest the destinies of all of humankind. As a parent have you loved us and showered your blessings upon us. Therefore we shall not murmur even when sorrow befalls us, but with humility and unfaltering trust we shall accept your decrees. In joy and in sorrow alike, we praise your goodness and acknowledge your justice. We remember that we are but strangers upon earth. Like a shadow, our life flees away. Help us, O God, so to walk in your sight, that when the few years of our earthly pilgrimage are ended, we may be ready to meet our end with tranquil mind. To thee we look for comfort and strength. When one of our beloved is taken from us and a link is broken in the chain of love which binds us together. Though we walk in the valley of the shadow of death, we shall fear no evil, for you are with us. Praised, O eternal our God, in all your dispensations. Sanctified be your name, now and forevermore. Poet has written, birth is a beginning and death is a destination. But life itself is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and from youth to age. From innocence to awareness and from ignorance to knowing. From foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength or from strength to weakness and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love. From joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, and from fear to faith. From defeat to defeat until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way. And having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death is a destination. Life itself is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life that is everlasting. There are perhaps no words used more often in moments like this than the words of the 23rd Psalm. And I don't remember whether I said this to you last year or not. I just don't remember. But they're worth repeating. I was taught a long time ago, what does it mean? Why do we use this psalm so often, especially at moments like this? Probably because it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And that would be good enough reason. But I learned a long time ago when I was a rabbinic student, that's a very long time ago, That was a laugh line. Nobody laughed. And he would have appreciated that. I learned a long time ago from one of my professors that when King David wrote this psalm, he had something in mind for you, the mourners. And it wasn't just a fact of, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He was trying to give you some advice. And what he was trying to say to you was, don't run through that valley. Don't get stuck in that valley. Walk through it. And walk through it with deliberate ways. Walk through it in order to recover from a moment like this, or from the death of a loved one. So I'm going to read the psalm in Hebrew and then say it in English. Those of you who know some of it or all of it, please say it with me. Adonai Roi lo exor bin noteshe yarbit seni. Al me menachochin haleni. Nafshi shovev yancheni b'maglet tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit samavet. Lo yirara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha. Hema yinachanu. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai. Shanta b'shem en roshi kosiravaya. Ach tov v'chesed. Yirdafuni kol yemei chayai. Shavti b'beit Adonai ba'orech. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Beloved family, dear friends, know that we gathered here at the same spot a year ago. And at the risk of reopening a wound that is just now, there may be one more. And at the risk of opening a wound that is just now beginning to close, we gather here again today. And it's a sad day, just as it was last year, because one of the chairs that was Mike's chair, now empty. And you as a beloved family have to go through this process again. To come to a point where, yes, you'll accept it because we have no alternative but to accept the loss of loved ones. But hopefully it will be more than just acceptance. In some ways, the tasks that we spoke about last year are still the tasks that lay before you now. Important ones. And some of that doesn't change. I don't really care who it is that dies. These moments when we separate from basar vadam, the flesh and blood of a human being, even if it's ashes, and what was important about that person, namely their soul, that separation doesn't change. I don't care who it is that we bury. And that part stays the same. And those tasks that I know I spoke with you about last year, those tasks remain to be started again, because they are the way in which we give honor to those that we love. In some ways, they're even more important, as we spoke the other day. You do understand what this year has meant. So did your dad. We spoke, not often. I should have spoken with him more often, but he grieved. He understood what that moment of separation was all about. He did not want all of us to gather together. Not his way. Because among other things that were really a part of Michael Solomon was his humility. He really was a humble guy. I'll tell you about that in a few moments. Because we had many professional talks about people that I had sent to him over the years. But he was a humble guy and did not want all of us to gather together. But the truth is, the family needs it. Family needs to have these moments of separation. Family needs to know that there is a time to begin that process of grieving, as hard as it is. And this moment reminds us it's not what we do in life, it's who we are that makes us do what we do. That's an important concept. We can list a biography of somebody, all their degrees, all their desires, all their hopes, all their jobs, all their volunteer work. It doesn't matter. That isn't who they were. Who they were drove them to do those things. And that's what I always believe we're to celebrate in someone's life. And to share with a family, to help a family understand that this isn't just a time of, okay, he's gone, we bury his ashes, and that's the end of it. It's not the end of it. In some ways, especially for grandchildren and great-grandchildren, it's good that he saw a grandchild married. And he thought about great-grandchildren. But it's for great-grandchildren as well, who didn't know him physically at all, to come to learn who he was. So it's a time for you to grieve and to wonder, especially when there's such a close proximity to the death of two people who spent 60 years together. We all can have our points of view about what is going to happen after, what's not going to happen. We really don't know, and as many of us as there are here, that's how many points of view we have about what will happen to us when we die. Nothing that I can say one way or another is going to make any difference. And I say that positively, not negatively. Because as I've said before, people come to me often, Rabbi, what's going to happen when I die? I say, I have two answers for that. Number one, I don't know because I have not been there. And number two, I am not anxious to find out. Another laugh line, but it's true. Because I don't know what will happen to us. But I do know what will happen to us living in this world. And I do know that we have some obligations. One is to grieve, one is to wonder. One certainly is to remember who he was in all the various aspects of his life. And there were many. Not just as a parent or as a grandparent or as a spouse, but as a friend, as a confidant, as a creative person, as a little quirky about some of his stuff. You just say, I had a sister who died 2 years ago, and she spent more time needle pointing than anybody I knew. And I think they even bought their stuff at the same place. I'm sure they did. Not too many guys that I know of were needle pointers. And needlepoint is not a craft, it's an art. He was creative in that way. It was good for him. But this was a special guy. The person who will ultimately be remembered in so many, many ways. Because he understood what this world is about. I'm going to read a poem to you. Longfellow. I'm not going to read the whole thing, I'm just going to read part of it. It's called A Psalm of Life. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God overhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another sailing over life's domain, forlorn and shipwrecked brothers seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learning to labor, to wait. Footprints in the sands of time. That's what we leave. With all the things that we think we leave behind, the one thing that is certain and will be with us and our progeny for as long as possible are those footprints, the ways in which a person made a difference. So what does he leave behind? It's not lost. It's in the future. And I do believe that. As kids, you knew him in a different way than anybody else. And I love the idea that when we talked about this the other day, we talked about his discipline, how he would discipline you. He wasn't a loud guy, but he could look like anybody else. He could give you that look that said, I made a mistake. He could give you a look that said, I better do better. He could give you a look that said, this is just a beginning of a time when we move forward. Because he understood the pragmatism of how he dealt with you as his children. And it was his way of discipline, as any parent disciplines their child. With love, with devotion, with caring. The idea that whatever it is that we want to teach our children, we teach it to them, not just for them, but generations to come. I knew Mike too. And I've been a rabbi here for 54 years. It's a long time. And when I went back to school here, I got my doctorate in pastoral counseling. Now, sometimes people thought pastoral counseling meant if we have a problem, we'll go to the rabbi and he'll deal with it. And I always looked at people coming to me saying, yeah, I'll deal with them for a couple of sessions or 3 sessions and try to help them along the way. But I always thought that one of my tasks, when it was necessary, was to help move people on to somebody who could be more helpful, somebody who could understand. And I only had 3 or 4 people that I made recommendations of. He was one of them. And I have to tell you, there was never a time that people came back to me and said, I wish you hadn't sent me to Dr. Solomon. People would always come back and they would say he was very helpful. And he was. And I understood that. He was so professional in the way he dealt with all of the people. He was so helpful in so many ways. Yeah, he was the counselor. He was the therapist. He was the MSW, PhDW. He was that person who had all of the credentials. But there was even something more. He was that person who provided space so that others, yourselves included, so that others could speak, could be understood. And I think that was his unique gift. Not being judgmental, not giving unsolicited advice. I loved that the other day. Somebody said that to me. And that's true, but that's not entirely true. Because he helped people find their way by saying things like, did you ever consider? I think it was you, Betsy, who said that. And I'll tell you, that may not be direct advice, but it was as indirect and direct as it could possibly be. Because he understood the pragmatism of working with people. He understood what the task was to do that and how it would be better for them in days to come. He was soft and gentle, and none of us who knew him could say anything other than that. He was wise in a very special way. He loved his life as helper more than he loved the fact that he was a PhD in social work. He loved the fact that he could help. And yes, his pragmatism helped so many people. He had a good sense of humor, dry and wry, and he was a storyteller. Sometimes too much. I understand. Most storytellers are that way. But he understood that. He loved to play games with his family. He loved movies and books and fashion and music. He loved his eyeglasses. He loved the fact that he could do all of those things and still needlepoint at the same time. He was, in short, a connector, connecting people with one another whose lives may never be known to anybody else. But he connected people with one another. And maybe if there is such a thing as artificial intelligence, maybe he was at the head of that place. Because he did love computers and he stayed up to date. He's non-confrontational as a person. Perhaps that was his best gift. His compassion, his understanding. And each of us in our own way can think back about what those days were about in our relationship with him. But the love of his life was certainly Anne. 60 years sharing together. And I remember us talking, Mike and Anne and I, just 3 days or 2 days before she died, sitting in the living room of their house. They were very open with each other about what was happening. And she said, here's what I want. And he said, here's what I want. And those both are converging today. I am not a person who thinks that we should judge cremation, no cremation. I don't do that. I believe people have the right to do as they choose. It's not necessarily what I would do. But I respect his right to say this is how he wants to be with Anne. Whatever lies ahead. So for you, his family, you will remember her as the person who opened the home, but he was the person who embraced with her their times together. So you as his friends, you will remember him in special ways. You as his grandchildren, you'll share your tears as your parents will. But I think that there is a special relationship that you have to think about. He has left you a legacy, but it's not yours alone. That legacy is who he was. But leaving it to you means you're going to leave it to the next generation so that who he was in life does not get left behind. Perhaps these words will be helpful. Poet wrote, "There are stars up above, far, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. Stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we will remember." It is in that spirit then that we resolve to face our grief, without self-pity, but with bravery and integrity, keeping before us forever the blessings that God conferred upon us in this life that he but lent to us for these many decades. And in a world where our most precious goods are perishable, let us resolve to honor our beloved dead by being so good to the living, so kindly, so understanding, so forgiving, so transcendent of pettiness, that in our love for him we shall hearken to those who remain and who need us and our strength. May it be through new relationships and new service to humanity that we make good our laws, and in the beauty of our own lives erect the noblest monuments to our mourn dead, lest the beauty of his life shall ever abide among us all. It's a living, loving benediction. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach me'atav v'ad olam. God has given, God has taken away. Praise be the name of God, now and forevermore. Let us all say together. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. The rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the blueness of the sky and in the heat of the summer, we will remember him. The beginning of the year and when it ends, remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we will remember him. When we have achievements based on his, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live. He now is a part of us. We will remember him. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar etchem b'tzamo v'zan chelkel etchem b'tuvo, העמיד אתכם בדין ונטע בתוככם חיי עולם. ברוך אתה Adonai Dayan ha'emet. Praise you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who forms us in the divine image, who nourishes and sustains us in your goodness, causing all of us to die and planting immortal life within us. Praise you, O God, the judge of truth. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני רב להושיע מכלכל חיים בחסד. Eternal is your might, O God, all life is your gift. Great is your power to save. To love you sustain the living. Great compassion you give life to all. You send help to the falling, healing to the sick. You bring freedom to the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. We praise you, O God, who implants eternal life within us. Blessed thou art, and to blessed thou shalt return. Omerata vel kumer kashu. Clay thou art, and ashes thou art. Spirit art thou, Spirit of God, and true soul. Dust and ashes return to the earth as they were. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the Spirit which we have laid within the bosom of the earth. The Spirit itself cannot die. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our beloved Michael Solomon. Grant him that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen nor ear has heard, your mind has grasped it, still it is our sure inheritance, our everlasting portion, now and forever. So I would now ask you, family and dear friends, for those of you who would like to rise for Kaddish, please do so. We recite together the words that have been hallowed by centuries of faith, words that have been glorified. Yitkadah v'yitkadosh Roma divrach elitei v'yamlich malchutei v'chaye chon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael v'agalau v'zman kari v'yinu amen. Yehi shemei rabba mevorach le'olam u'le'olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalav shmei d'kudsha b'richu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata v'shpechata v'netana Amiram b'yom v'yinu amen. Yehi shalom araba min shemaya Kayim aleinu v'yal Yisrael Oseh shalom Hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'yal Yisrael Amen. Ilmo lerachamim shulchim b'amen. Ametzenu chanukonu tachat k'nei hashchina. Im kedoshim torim k'zor harakim azirim. Et nishmat yakirenu. Shalach v'olamot. Bala rachamim. Vestirei b'seit v'knafav v'olamim. Vayetzvor v'tzvor ha'chaim et nishmatov. Adonai v'necharatov yanuach v'shalom. Kol mishkavot mo. God, full of compassion, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence. Dr. Michael Solomon, enter into eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Thou his possession and may his repose. Dear friends, the family has asked us to announce that they will observe a period of mourning tomorrow. I'm not going to say at a cocktail party, but at a cocktail party at Andy's home at 1603 South Elm. I won't say either for Shabbos afternoon, 5 to 8. I won't say that. 5 to 8 tomorrow afternoon. And of course, they would like to have all of you present to be a part of reflecting on Mike's life. The departed, whom we now remember, has entered into life eternal. He still lives on earth in the acts of goodness he has performed. In the hearts of those who will ever cherish his memory, we pray that the beauty of his life abide among us as a living and loving benediction. The source of peace. Send peace to all you who mourn. May God comfort all the bereaved among us and in Israel, all the nations and the families of earth. Let us all sit together. Adonai, go your way. God has called you. Adonai, go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you. May the glory of God receive you. Let us all say together, Amen. Dear friends, after the family has had a chance, if they choose to put earth in the grave, others can soup. But be careful. It's a small grave, not a lot of dirt. So don't, those of you who are more traditional, don't try to fill it in yourselves. Let other people have an opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the service. Thank you.